My name is Emily Brinly. I'm a global trauma advocate, coach and consultant specialising in borderline personality disorder. I've founded this organisation called Each Person Counts. We also provide advocacy for survivors of childhood sexual abuse and people experiencing complex PTSD, as well as institutional consultancy services on all those topics. So the clip that I'm bringing you today is on some quick grounding practices that we can do that, when done regularly, can help us heal from distress when we have borderline personality disorder. So basically, when we have borderline personality disorder, that means that we basically are showing all the symptoms of trauma, unresolved trauma, dissociation, rage, emptiness, feeling numb, wanting to numb our pain with addiction, self-harming, feeling suicidal, being in conflict with people who don't understand why we feel the way that we do. And basically all those responses dissociate us and they take us out of our body and out of the here and now. So what these practices do, when done regularly and when done over a longer period of time, they completely change our brain chemistry, they change our thoughts, they change our emotions, they change our feelings, they change our cognitions, they change the way that our brain is wired, which changes our personality in some ways. So I wish that I had have learned about these practices a long time ago, but I learnt them about 2 years ago and I've been practicing them daily ever since and learning more and more about them, and combined with iRest Yoga Nidra, which I practice daily, it has completely transformed how I feel about myself, how I feel about life, my ability to not let my thoughts take over, which can affect our emotions. So I'm just going to go through today some quick exercises that have worked for me. It's a personal choice. Some things might not feel right for you. Some may gel a bit more, and you've got to go with whatever feels right for you. Or you could do some more research and experiment and see what's effective for you. So basically with me, I've had a total of 5 psychotic breakdowns and I've spent years in suicidal despair. That happened because of the severity of the childhood trauma that I experienced when I was 5 years old, but it was also because I was misdiagnosed. So once we get the correct diagnosis and we understand why we have the emotional and thought dysregulation that we do, then we can take steps and measures to start daily practices to change that in an empowering way. And most of these practices are completely free, they're completely available, and anyone can do them in your bedroom, in the privacy of your own home. Some of them seem a little bit corny, but after what we've been through, it's just about healing. It really doesn't matter what other people think or feeling a bit embarrassed about it. If it works, if it helps us heal, if it helps bring us feelings of acceptance and peace and joy, let's do it. Who cares what people think of us? No one really understands what it's like to go through what we have or be labelled the way that we have. So we just need to focus on ourselves and get feedback from ourselves. And if something works and feels good, keep doing it. If it makes you feel healthy, if it brings you good feelings, it's working. So the main thing is that these techniques, you can use them when you're in distress to assist you, but when you do it regularly, habitually, when it becomes part of your life, that's when it really starts to affect our brain and change our brain neuroplasticity. So I'm just going to demonstrate the easiest, simplest one that I use a lot. And basically I'll explain it. I got this kind of ideas from the meditation teacher, Jon Kabat-Zinn. So basically what he talks about is that there's 4 circumstances that can really take us out of our bodies, out of the here and now, or dissociate us in a way. When we've got trauma, we feel it to a more severe extent than other people who don't have a trauma background. The first one is negative, stressful, or worrying thoughts about the past. The second one is worrying, stressful, or negative thoughts about the future. The third one is judgments of other people. And the fourth one is judgments of ourselves. How often do we have 4 of those options? How much of our day do we have taken up of this? What we want to do is we want to become aware of this, and then we want to take steps, empowered steps, to change it. Because when we engage in these 4 thoughts or judgments, we take ourselves out of the here and now, out of our bodies, into a kind of trauma brain where we're expanding the trauma brain, expanding the neural pathways that cause us to have dysregulated moods, And what we want to do is just bring it back time and time again to change it. And the first way that we start that is by noticing that we're doing one of these 4 things. That's the most important part. Some people can live their whole lives and not really ever become conscious or aware that they're engaging in those 4 things. So the first step is to notice, I'm thinking about the past. Notice it. Or I just had a judgment about someone. Notice it. Or I'm beating myself up with this thought. I'm going to notice that I'm doing that. That's the first step. Notice it. And then what I do is a very simple technique. Breathing in through my nose for 2 seconds. Breathing out through my mouth for 2 seconds. What that does is that tells my brain that I'm aware that it's dissociated, and I'm anchoring back into self, back into here and now. Notice. And when we do that habitually, we're training our brains, we're taming our brains, we're letting our brains work for us. And when we do this habitually, it really transforms our feelings. And this is what mindfulness is. So this is the most simple technique that I've used. 1, 2, in through my nose, out through my mouth. Notice, breathe. We can also add in a little catchphrase just to anchor it a little bit more solidly. So, for example, I might have a judgment of someone. Sometimes I might judge someone, they're a bit shallow. And I think that's quite common for us complex trauma survivors, to feel that we're living in our own kind of trauma world. So I'll say to myself, Kate, you just had a judgment about someone else. I don't beat myself up about it. I have self-compassion. I breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth, and I say a little catchphrase like living in the moment to myself. And I just do that time and time again. Judgments about myself, judgments about other people. Notice, ground, anchor, breathe. Really powerful. Another technique, this one I learnt from Joseph Goldstein, is you can just say to yourself, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. And really try to get into your belly. That's another little simple technique, and I'll put the links to these meditation teachers' websites. Another simple grounding technique is for us to just really land in our seats, land in our bodies, feel our feet on the floor, feel the texture of the floor underneath our feet, even if we have shoes on or not, doesn't matter. We're noticing, we're paying focused attention and noticing our legs and our bottom planted in the seat, and notice all the feelings of what that feels like to be grounded in the here and now in our bodies in the seat, and the weight of our back on the back of the chair. And you can wiggle your toes a little bit. You can just take a few moments. Yeah, I'm here now. I'm not living in my childhood. I'm not in the past. I'm here in my body now. You can take some moments to really feel that and take some breaths while you're noticing it. And I did this one quite a bit. I went through periods where I was so severely distressed and dissociated that my eyes would glaze over several times a day, and I would kind of tune out, zone out. And I was living with some wonderful people who, knew I was healing and recovering, and I asked them to assist me by, whenever they noticed me doing that, eyes glazing over, zoning out, clap. They bring me back into the room. And they'd just do it in a gentle way, but it would take me back out, come back to the here and now, and just notice my body. So you can ask other people to help you with this if you're going through that period of extreme dissociation as well, which is very painful, but happening because we're traumatized, and it's a completely healable situation. We can transform it with these daily practices, but first we need to be taught the practices and know about them. And I went to meditation schools and watched YouTube clips and read books and downloaded a lot of audios, and I have taught myself how to come back now. And I really dissociate only if I'm really bored out of my brain. Sometimes I might dissociate a little bit, but I practice mindfulness. Another technique is to just listen to all the sounds. And this can be really nice to do outside, where you can just take a picnic rug out into your backyard and just lay down on your back and just notice all the sounds, paying focused attention to all the sounds around you that are happening in the here and now. You don't need to name the sounds or make sense of the sounds. You just need to notice them, and you can notice that a distant sound or a sound close by, and just focus your attention on those sounds. And you can combine it with sight too, and we can do that anywhere. So that's another technique. These next three techniques I learnt from a meditation teacher called Graham Williams, who runs the Lifeflow Meditation Centre in Adelaide. And I found him because I went through a period where I was extremely distressed. I had a lot of somatic symptoms, which is very common for people with borderline personality disorder, and extremely common for people that have experienced complex trauma and have complex PTSD, which about 50% of people, studies show 50% of people with BPD actually meet the criteria for PTSD or complex PTSD as well. So I sought out Graham. He studied with some monks for 10 years, and he learned a lot of these kind of meditation techniques. And I actually was so distressed that I flew interstate to meet with him, and he taught me some really great little techniques as well that he learnt from the monks. So the first one is really, really simple. It's just quite simply noticing that we're in one of those 4 states or thoughts, and all we do is just grab the back of our neck. We just rub the back of our neck. And we can do this anywhere. I used to do it while I was driving. I'd notice that I'd be driving along and I'd be zoning out, dissociating, thinking about the past while I was driving. Back, bring me right back. Rub the back of my neck. Very, very simple, easy technique. We can do it at the computer, we can do it driving, we can do it out when we're with other people, we can do it when we're home alone. But we notice negative, stressful, worrying thought about the past or the future, judgment of self or other. Use our little technique. Back to the here and now. I use that one quite a lot. The next one is just quite simply rocking. This might be one you want to do when you're by yourself. But this can also be quite soothing, that rocking feeling, like a nurturing mum that rocks her baby in her arms. And this can kind of generate a self-nurturance for ourselves, really. and we're just rocking from our hips and our pelvis on the spot and noticing all the sensations and kind of grounding ourselves here now and out of our heads and out of our thoughts. That's another simple technique. The third one is a visualization technique, and that's where we visualize a pillar, a strong, indestructible pillar that runs from the heavens through us down to the ground, grounded in the earth. So we just close our eyes and we imagine that our spine is a pillar that grounds us to heaven and earth, in the here and now where we are. And we feel how strong that pillar is in holding us together and holding our lives together. And we feel that that pillar is always with us, no matter what. It's an indestructible part of ourselves. That we belong here on the earth, in our bodies, being who we are. And we just notice that connection to the earth. Notice how it feels to be a pillar of strength for ourselves. That's a nice little one too. The next one, I don't know who created this, I'm not sure. But it's just quite simply, probably no one, but it's just quite simply just giving ourselves a hug, when we notice that we're beating ourselves up, you're crazy, you're disgusting, you're never going to be successful, you've got borderline, you're going to have it for the rest of your life, everyone knows, you're going to be a failure. All these thoughts affect us and hurt us, and when we hug ourselves, we're immediately counteracting those thoughts. So we notice I'm having judgments about myself. We don't beat ourselves up. We notice that it's happening, and we just give ourselves a hug. The next grounding techniques is from Dr. Peter Levine, who is a trauma world expert who developed somatic experiencing, and I've done a clip on him. And I used this one quite a lot because I had really severe somatic symptoms, really severe. And I would just lay in bed and I would put one hand on my stomach and one hand on the back of my neck. And I would just lay there and I would just focus on that connection, of that conscious connection, the focused attention on just containing my somatic symptoms and breathing. Another option is one hand on the stomach and the other on the forehead, and this elicits a calming response too. Very effective when we're distressed, especially if we do it habitually. Sorry, the battery just ran out, so I'm just going to end with the last grounding mindfulness practice, which is just quite simply putting our hand on our heart. And when we have borderline personality disorder and we have a lot of negative thoughts that are shame-based, that's a really the lowest frequency feeling, and it really can cause us a lot of suffering to have those types of thoughts. Also, rageful feelings and thoughts. Rage is a very normal response to having childhood trauma and feeling invalidated and powerless, but when we hash over it for long periods of time, it can really affect us. So when we're in those states where we're having a lot of negative shame-based or rage-based thoughts, the best thing that we can do, I believe, is to just quite simply, put our hands on our hearts, and that takes us straight to a heart connection with ourselves, out of here of the negative thoughts, and back into our bodies, into our hearts, where we can feel our heart beating, feel that we're alive, feel the blood pumping through us, and that we're here now in our bodies. And we can just quite simply say some, really gentle, nurturing things to ourselves. Maybe these are things that we wanted others to say to us, but we were never able to hear for whatever reason, but we can give that to ourselves and really connect with ourselves and with self-compassion and nurturance. So some examples would be, it's okay, it's going to be okay, I'm here for you. Everything that you've been through, you're amazing. I'm so proud of you. I love you. I'll always love you. And these techniques are even more powerful when we say them in a mirror. It can sound corny, but whatever heals, whatever helps us to heal, it doesn't matter what other people think. We're, bringing ourselves back into our bodies in a safe way, being kind to ourselves. And from my experience is that when we do this regularly and habitually, it can completely, for me, transform my life. So I'm really passionate about these short, quick grounding practices to help us ease distress and help us to heal. So I hope these techniques have been of benefit to hear about them and learn, and always remember that you've got to go with what feels right for you and practice the techniques that feel right for you. And if you feel like anyone could benefit from watching this clip, please forward the link. And thank you very much for watching, and may we all be grounded in the here and now in our bodies, and watch all of the positive benefits in our life unfold when we do that. Thank you.